All right. Okay. All right, cool. Why don't we start, right? We have a lot to show. So, uh, happy Friday, everybody. I'm very happy to see you all. Um, a recording of this webinar will be available um, after the webinar is over. Our team will do that. I know most of you all. I may know from my maybe our alumni. You may know us, but I just briefly introduce our team here. So, so my name is Wiselin. I'm a CTO at International Business Consultants, and we specialize in artificial intelligence to boost productivity, and we're also scaled agile, Gold SPCT partners. A couple of key uh, alliances that we have is both ServiceNow and Atlassian. So today we are going to show a lot of hands-on experience on some of the bold experiments that we have been doing on value stream mapping and many other things. So I will keep the I will also like to introduce a couple of other key team members from our side. Paul Jacinto, he's our VP of Engineering, and he will be doing a hands-on walkthrough of ServiceNow and also align you on this particular webinar topic, which is using AI to do value stream mapping. So we want to even introduce by saying what is value stream mapping to start with. So Paul will show that. And then the second half, I will show a hands-on demo of our own AI tool along with how it can be used to integrate with Jira. So we're going to show both Jira and ServiceNow during this webinar. And we have Prabha, who is our operations director. She will be monitoring the chat and also help you with other, some of you are all looking for certain things as a follow-up after the class. And you can always contact her to let her know about anything that you all need. So thank you all for joining during Friday. I will next pass it to Paul to kick off our presentation by walking us through what is value stream mapping. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Dr. Wiselin, for the intro. So let's get started here. Like Dr. Wiselin mentioned, kind of optimizing your operations is a very complex task.
One request, Paul. Can we go full screen?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Let me set that up. How's this? Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. Let's get into it. This is a topic Dr. Wiselin and myself are very passionate about. And, we've done a lot of these implementations in SAFe across many companies. And kind of the biggest value add that we always bring is the ability to document how you bring an idea from concept to customer. And all of that really starts with this concept of value stream mapping. But before we get to that, let's lay out the agenda for the meeting. So my hope is by the end of the call that you guys will have a good intuition about these various topics, especially topics related to what is a value stream, what is a value stream map, how that's grounding us in lean principles, and then most importantly, how can you take those concepts and apply them to your own company's processes to optimize them with tools such as ServiceNow and Jira. So with that said, let's get really grounded on the value add here for today. So what do you expect to get out of value stream mapping and understanding these concepts? Well, hopefully this is just a short list, but hopefully this covers all the things you find important. Hopefully reducing costs, right? Reducing lead time, reducing the ability to release defects out into the wild, right? So that's very important. This lean concept of decreasing waste or eliminating waste is very important. And, what we want to do here is frame waste in the processes that you currently have, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of your resources. Like we all know that we can't boil the ocean. If we could do everything we could, But if you really want to make a huge impact in your delivery model, really understanding your value stream and identifying those bottlenecks is really going to point you in the right direction towards optimizing delivery. So with that said, let's start with value stream. What is it? It's very simple. I always tell students, don't overcomplicate it. A value stream is just really, it's just documentation. And what you're documenting is your end-to-end collection of activities that allow you to deliver something of value to the customer and for the enterprise. So that's a very simple definition, but in my experience, a lot of students complicate it. So let's start there, and then let's break it down. So in terms of what are the logistics and the particulars of a value stream, I've got a short list here, and I'll quickly run through them. Like, to me, once you understand the concept of a value stream, you can kind of connect it to all the parts of your organization. So to me, that really includes the policies and processes that you currently have today to deliver something of value. To me, it includes the cultural components of the organization. So, there's a mention here about the social systems that support the people doing the work. And then obviously the first three bullets here, I think these come intuitively to most people. It's really the environment, the physical facility, the tools and technologies that you leverage, your tech stack. And last but not least, to me, the most important, it's really the people doing the work. So with that in mind, we'll keep it going here. In addition to all of that, now let's not forget that, if you want to improve your value stream, you have to ground what you do to improve it based off of new behaviors. So the intent with today's demos is to help you identify both the bottlenecks and the new behaviors that will take your company to the next level. Okay, what else? So, I want to keep it simple, but what are some additional aspects to a value stream you want to consider? I just boiled it down to these four things because I believe, every company, no matter what domain or function you do, has all of these things in common. So first and foremost is the kind of the managerial aspects. So the philosophy and the kind of people you retain and the kind of behaviors you reward within the company. I think that's a huge predictor of how you deliver value. And then the rest here, social systems, the operational aspects of things, and of course your technology stack. So when you're mapping this out and trying to get it documented, I think if you have these four aspects in mind, it'll certainly act as a really good guide to make sure you don't miss anything important. Okay, cool. So that's a value stream, but like I mentioned, what really makes this an actionable thing that will drive future behavior is creating another document called a value stream map. So, if you ask me, just give me a simple definition, Paul, what is a value stream map? To me, it's just a tool or a piece of documentation that lays out the flow of value and material required to build the product, for the organization. So once you have this tool or document procured, it's really going to lay out the impediments and bottlenecks in your delivery model. So very importantly, that don't think that this is just some kind of buzzword. It really is to me it's a very important artifact that if you don't document it, you're going to miss those opportunities to eliminate waste, and it's going to be even more harder. To me, infinitely more harder to live those lean principles. So with that said, without talking too much, I just want to show you what a value stream map will look like. So you can do this the old-fashioned way on pen and paper. You don't need a digital tool. So if you were going to do this manually on pen and paper, here are the kinds of things you would be documenting. And when you look at this, here's what I want you to focus on. the list of value-added activities are very high level. So for example, like in the center here, we have the development side of the value stream. And development's a very broad topic, right? And as to kind of help you kind of picture this, I've associated it to a Java team building some kind of web app. But we know that development has a lot of nuanced teams, and there's a lot of people involved in that process. But I think one of the biggest mistakes you can avoid to help you in the process is to keep it high level. So I always tell students, if you can document your value stream map, like on a single page or a single PowerPoint slide, I think that's more predictive of how successful you're going to be to identifying wasteful and impediments in your system. So what else do you notice about this? Well, we've got the high level activities. We also have very important data and metrics at the bottom here. So it is laid out in timeline view. This is the sequential list of steps, but notice we're also documenting the value added time done at each phase or step in the value stream. And not only that, the time between steps. So if you want to call that lead time or idle time, those are important things you want to measure, because oftentimes the value added time is only a fraction of the actual lead time or idle time in your system. So whenever that ratio is a little off, those point to things that you can quickly maybe remedy or mitigate to improve the rate that you can deliver. So yeah, before I move on, I actually want to dwell on this slide just a little bit. I'll take some volunteers in the audience. When you look at this, is there a step that kind of jumps out at you as extremely wasteful or inefficient, or a potential source to remedy? Anything jumping out at you guys? I see one. I mean, I built this, but hopefully it's
the
obvious.
testing piece is very late in the game.
Okay, sure. Testing, the QA part is, yeah, sure. By late in the game, do you mean?
It's almost
like
code is
timing?
there in pre-prod, right? Before that, then you're doing the testing piece.
Okay, so yeah, you could flip the order of the steps there. Yeah, sure. Anything else? Anything else jumped out at you?
To add to Paul's point, if you were to look at the data tells the truth. Just look at the data and see what's standing out. Where will you focus the time on?
So, if I want to make two observations.
Development and deployment, there's a lot of late, 144 hours.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think we have a winner there. So right, look at the ratio of the time it takes to develop a change and the amount of idle time or lead time. So that's almost an order. Yeah, almost an order of magnitude, right? So we need to understand why that lead time is so large, and compared to the value added time. And so even though this is a simple document, it's very powerful in that it's a one pager, and it allows both the people doing the work and the leadership to quickly align on, okay, this is obvious to me that there's a part of our system that can be improved quickly. And then, okay, in addition to that, let's look at some of the benefits here. Value stream mapping does provide a kind of a common language for identifying bottlenecks. You can quickly identify, the wasteful parts of the system, and hopefully provides a blueprint for the other parts of the organization as well. So in my experience, and I think Dr. Wiselin will attest to this as well, like if you do this right in one part of the organization, it'll work so well that other aspects of the company are going to want to adopt it as well. So yeah, you'll be defining the future blueprint for creating your future delivery models. Okay, a quick note on customer value. What we want you to keep in mind is when you define your value stream and you document your value stream map, we always want to focus on customer value, customer centricity. So when you think about value, it's really best to express it in terms of, the client or the customer, and not in terms of like legacy thinking, like projects or tasks. So think about the product itself, the solution itself, and think holistically in terms of customer value. And when it comes to lean thinking, when you procure this artifact called a value stream map, you're actually living a lean principle, and you're achieving that lean mindset. And when it comes to lean thinking, I want you to have this kind of $100,000 buzzword in your mind, and it's called Muda. It comes from Japan, and it's their term for waste or wastefulness. And so when you're documenting your map and you're collecting the metrics for value added time and lead times, really think about Muda or waste. And to help you along that journey, we've provided probably 7 of the core sources of wasteful or bottlenecks within your process. So definitely number 1 speaks to me as an ex-developer, letting defects escape into production and getting discovered by your customer. Some of the most wasteful and expensive pieces of rework there is. Number 2, overproduction or over-design. Don't forget, just by looking at your value stream map, you can identify that idle time and wait time. And so when you're thinking about this, hopefully this list will be useful to you when you think about wastefulness and how to get lean. Okay, so what are some of the challenges here? So it seems simple in theory and in concept, but oftentimes it's a lot more complicated, right? So where do you begin? We get this question quite a bit. We get it a lot. And so I think one of the things we can give you today and take back to your teams is understand what it's not. So a value stream map really is not a document that demonstrates the information flow or the communication flow. And it's not a document where you're jotting down the managerial hierarchy or the kind of the social systems like that exist within large groups. Those are important things, but I would say if you're getting into that level of detail, it's a little bit too granular than you want to begin with when you're documenting that value stream and your value stream map. So like I'm going to go back a couple of slides. Like I mentioned earlier, if you look at how this is documented, like the development phase of the value stream here, like you could literally break that down into at least a dozen different granular steps. And if you thought about it in terms of here are all the groups and the people, individual people that we have to collaborate with to make something, to get something to production. I think you're pedaling uphill and you're fighting an uphill battle there. Like, we really recommend you keep it high level, and if it's required, like for example, like if we want to understand why is the lead time between development and deployment so large, once you've identified that's the huge bottleneck, maybe that's the time to go into more granular thinking about, okay, what is it about what's happening between these 2 steps in terms of communication and information flow that's creating all this idle time. But like I said, don't begin there. Begin at a super high level and just start with the high level processes first, and then work your way down once you identify bottlenecks. 3 quick rules to also help you. Keep in mind that it's hard to do this if you're not talking to the right people. So we all know delivering products is very complex. I think you actually want to interface, go to the people that are doing the work, talk to the people doing the work, doing the delivery, doing the design and crafting of requirements, and do your best to take really good notes. Just observe and watch. There's a term for that. Does anyone want to take a stab at it? What do you call it when you go to the work? You go to the place where the work's being done.
Gemba walk.
Yeah, there you go. This is just Gemba. So we're big fans of that. You can't do this in a vacuum. You have to actually interview people and get to know them, right? So quick summary here before I turn it over to Dr. Wiselin. I just want to make sure that part of building your value stream map is first baselining your current state. And once you have that current state, then you can refine it and figure out, okay, from where we are today to where we want to be tomorrow, we're going to start procuring what the future state's going to be in terms of improving the process. Take advantage of your Gemba walks, keep it high level, like door-to-door level means, super high level. Don't forget to include any phases of your delivery that involve interactions with the vendors and suppliers. It might involve documenting the flow between multiple geographic locations. You want to take all of that into account across the whole company. And don't forget the impact of leadership here. Like, I don't recommend you do this in a vacuum. I think you want to be very clear about your intent. So try to get leadership's buy-in to help you with that. Because leadership does influence all these aspects, and they control quite a bit in terms of the flow of information, especially with suppliers. If you're building, physical objects, the scheduling of your supplier network is oftentimes a huge source of Buddha. Okay, and then very quickly here, I just want to touch on some key metrics. We've talked about value-added time, idle time or lead time, percent complete and accurate. So this is more of a quality assessment, and both Dr. Wiselin and I have a lot to say to this. But if you're confused about what that is and how to use it, definitely reach out to us after the webinar, and we can work with you. Documenting this properly really requires first doing your value stream identification, and then inputting these metrics by talking to the right people and interviewing the right people. And then, so your future value stream map might look like this, where you've done the initial work, and now you're able to say, you know what, across the last 2 releases, our lead times have decreased across these various phases of the project, or you know what, we're actually getting worse here over time. And you're not going to get there unless you track and baseline it first. So that's really what we want you to take away from today's talk. And before Dr. Wiselin, I'll turn it over to you here for in a few minutes. But before we do, I just want to, because we get a lot of questions about what kind of tools do you recommend to help us document this process. We're big fans of ServiceNow, but there are a bunch of other vendors that are, they're also useful tools for just documenting the work. But if you want to leverage things like AI and automated processes, like ServiceNow is probably going to be the most bang for your buck there. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wiselin, who's going to walk us through some cool AI stuff.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you so much for grounding all of us in the basics of value stream mapping. Now, before I start, right now, I wanted to make sure that with Paul's help, you're in on the manual parts of doing stuff. But the webinar title is Using AI to Do Value Stream Mapping. And wish the world was 6 boxes, right, where things can go end to end. So what we are built from IBC is, at this point, I'm very happy and proud to say that our team has automated almost everything in the SAFe framework, period. From the topping point of generating OKRs, KPIs, splitting a feature into stories, story point estimation, prioritization, value stream mapping, everything we have automated. And we're currently looking at approximately 1,000+ attributes across where data is coming together. And it's super cool. I'm going to show you some cool hands-on demo of how this is happening. But before that, always when people come and challenge me, Wiselin, how do you think that you are saying that you automated this, where we used to do manually? My definition is very simple. I keep saying it. So 2 months back, right, I took my family to San Francisco, where we booked car, with my whole family, my kids and my wife, do you all agree that human life is precious than anything else? And in that car, we booked a ride in a car. There was no driver. There's not even a person sitting there and folding hands. If I can trust 4 human lives in that car, do you all agree at this stage in life, story point estimation is nothing? Everything is automated. Humans validate. That is the place where we are in. And the sooner we adopt these T-shaped skills, it's just super cool. So I'm going to show you some hands-on pieces at this point of how the recommendations work and everything. So one takeaway to build on what Paul said is value stream mapping is a technique to eliminate Muda and Mura. Mura is variation. Muda and Mura, both not only in the IT processes, but also business processes. In this remaining 30 minutes or 40 minutes, we are going to split it into 2 halves. One, after a small introduction, I'm going to give it back to Paul to show a hands-on a demonstration of how ServiceNow is integrated within our platform, and it scans a workflow of business processes in a HR value stream, a business process value stream, document the various steps. Whatever Paul showed human ways, we are going to do it in an automated way. And then it's going to also show how to troubleshoot the biggest bottlenecks. Now, guys, it's very important. I have a picture which is very close to my heart. Do you see this picture? The problem is, if we don't do a holistic view, we may be focusing on the last. You see, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. If you don't know the weakest link, you may be improving something which is not the biggest part. And I saw somebody put a note in the chat, and in companies, this is how a stack looks like. Gazillion things. Where do you even start? Where do we start? There are 1,000 things you can improve in an organization. Where do we start? That's where we use AI to pinpoint what is the biggest piece, and I want to show that to you. Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm sure you'll have questions. We will stay back at the end of the webinar to answer more questions, but we want to show you hands-on demo. So in the value stream mapping, I'm going to first, all the other pieces, we have a 2-day course hands-on where we teach leaders like yourself how to construct these models, a hands-on experience of integrating this with Jira, Align, and everything else, Azure DevOps. This is a hands-on 2-day course. I think it's next Saturday, Sunday. Prabha will be happy to give the information, but I want to at least show you how to, we'll start with a hands-on demonstration of how we can use AI for a process mining, business process mining. So I'm going to pass it to Paul, where he's going to take a work stream, which is a HR work stream in a company. And all the value stream mapping is what? To identify the biggest bottleneck to finally achieve key results. So he's going to walk through that. And then I will take it back in the remaining 15 minutes to 20 minutes, Paul, maybe, to show a full hands-on demo of Jira integration with the IT business processes and how even the recommendations to eliminate the bottlenecks are AI generated. I'm going to show that stuff when Paul gives it back to me. But back to you, Paul, for demonstrating the process mining from a business process angle.
Okay, yeah, great setup there, Dr. Wiselin. So yeah, we want to show you some hands-on stuff and what you can actually do and accomplish quickly in the real world, if you have the right instrumentation. So as Dr. Wiselin alluded to, ServiceNow they're all in on this process. So if you're a current customer of ServiceNow, this is something you could leverage if you knew how to set it up. So that's what Dr. Wiselin and myself have done here. We've set up, you're looking at my screen now. I'm showing you a couple of value streams that we've mapped. The one I will specifically walk you through is the HR business process value stream. And so, if you instrument this properly and your teams are doing a great job of tracking the work within ServiceNow, ServiceNow has this great ecosystem of machine learning and AI capabilities that could actually take that data and find the valuable parts to help you optimize your value stream. So, okay, I'm kind of switching over to this. They call this the process optimization workspace. And for this value stream, it's HR related. And it's a little slow. I'm waiting for some KPIs and goals to pop up here because I want people to connect their value streams to actual goals and KPIs, because I think that gets upper management excited. The more you can do that, the more they'll buy in and allocate capacity to do these things. So in HR, here are 4 metrics that we're tracking. So the percent of new HR tickets resolved within 24 hours. Right now it's at 40%. Whether or not that's impressive or not, it's really not about the absolute number, but how much that's improving over time, up to a certain extent. So that's pretty impressive to me. If you can eliminate almost half of the new tickets within a day of it getting drafted onto your team, to me, that's pretty impressive. Other metrics HR teams have asked us to track, tracking the rate of absenteeism, or when people take time off. We worked at a company that had really high absenteeism, and they set a yearly goal to get it down from 4.5% down to 3.8%. And for a rather large company, that small percentage point or difference actually makes a huge dent in your ability to be more productive. So these are the kinds of things that are really easy to track if you're leveraging ServiceNow. And then things like headcount across departments and the ability to fill opening positions. This kind of the data we're playing with here. Average time to fill an opening is almost 50 days. So, and yeah, for some of these departments, that's actually below target, and for some it's above target. So the thing is, what you're not tracking, you can't improve. So, if you work at a company where you're in a competitive space trying to hire the best people, I think this is a metric worth tracking. So how do we leverage machine learning within ServiceNow to optimize these things within HR? Well, the thing is, you have to document your entire process within ServiceNow. And once you get it in there, you get to leverage all the cool high-tech capabilities, which include AI and machine learning. So I'm going to switch over to the workbench where we can take a look at some simple workflows here. So here we've got a workflow for just working an HR ticket as it comes into the system. And here it is. This is their value stream for creating a ticket and getting it passed to HR tier 1 support. And as it moves along the system until it ends, these are all the things that which I talked about half an hour ago, where hey, if you didn't want to go high tech, you could document all these things mechanically and on pen and paper. But the beauty of ServiceNow is once you commit to documenting everything in this system, you get all the cool metrics for free. Things like lead time, value added time, the ability to quickly see bottlenecks become really obvious across your different flows here. So, before I talk about the AI stuff, I want to show you just as eye candy, what are some of the benefits that you get right out of the box. I think one of the coolest things is this ability for the AI to suggest opportunities to improve. So with this data set here, it's actually highlighted 3 things. I'll click through one of these first. One of them is this reassignment issue. Any HR cases that have been reassigned more than 2 times. Based off of this demo data, any cases that get shifted around to different resources, we want to track that and understand, why isn't this getting to the right group on the first attempt? Is there an issue with the triaging? Is this something we can leverage AI to suggest a better group? Can we recommend something to the triaging team that would improve their accuracy of assigning it to the right people or to the right group? Here's another one. How about solution rejection? Solution rejected after proposed closure. So I really like this one because it's bubbling up a misalignment between the people doing the solutioning and the people doing the acceptance. So, tracking, the amount of time between proposed solution and closure is a potential source of improvement for this data set. And so yeah, these are all the things that, once you have the instrumentation in place, you get to leverage out of the box. A couple of other highlights here. The AI really does a great job of showing you potential bottlenecks. So each phase in the value stream, you could click on, and it'll calculate the metrics for average duration, total duration, number of repeat occurrences. And if you want to dig really deep, you can trigger the documentation to show you the flow. So I'll do that for this first step here. So if you want to dig into more detail, you can drill down and see, okay, here are the steps in this particular flow, and here are all the metrics related to value added time and lead time. And to me, the ability of the AI to actually suggest, here are potential areas of improvement, to me just saves us a lot of time, right? There's, you don't have to go through the process of doing the analysis. You could just look at the suggestions and do a quick verification. Like Dr. Wiselin said, as humans, we can just verify this instead of burning time collecting these metrics and spending the next 6 weeks figuring out, is this an actual bottleneck? We can actually jump to the head of the line and say, okay, cool. We've got a short list here. Let's validate these and see if these are actual bottlenecks. Okay, what else? Well, I do want to walk you through how to trigger the AI here in ServiceNow. So I'm going to flip to a different view. For process mining to work well, you have to define, and this might not be the best term, but you have to define a project. For me personally, I wish this would be called a value stream instead. That would be a better name for it, but we kind of have to go with the default naming here. So you create these projects and you only have to provide two things: the data and the attributes within that data that you want the AI to build a model against. So here we are. Here is the HR value stream definition, and I've given the model access to the data. So I'm saying, okay, AI, I only want you to build a model against closed HR cases within the last 90 days. So if I drill down into this, you can see my data filter. And you can see, the record has a lot of data points, a lot of attributes. So in addition to the filter, I also tell the model, okay, out of all those tickets within the last 3 months, I only want you to look at two things: the group it was assigned to and the state. And so that's the bare minimum you need to set and configure before you run your machine learning and modeling jobs. So I want to walk you through that interface a little bit. So you define a value stream / project. You point that project to the data, and then you tell it what attributes you want the model to be built against. And that's all there is to it. Once you have that set, you can trigger the machine learning job, which I'll show you here in a second. And then, okay, while this is coming up, well, after you trigger that job, it'll take some time.
So
the
Paul,
first time I ran this, it took about 30 minutes.
Yeah. So Paul,
go ahead.
What we can do is, because 20 minutes on a time check, maybe we'll quickly try to say the key callouts on the output, how it comes, and then I can show them the other stuff.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I'll wrap it up here in a minute. So yeah, good call. So, I walked you through how to prepare the model to tell it what data to crunch. And then all you have to do is go back to your value stream definition. And there's going to be a green button here that you'll be very excited to press, generate full model. If you trigger this, it'll take, we're on a partner instance, which isn't fully loaded in terms of specs, but in about half an hour, it'll crunch the model and present you with, this dashboard. So kind of the dashboard I walked you through already. So you build your model, and then you want to associate that model to any of the KPIs that your company cares about or your department cares about. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Anything to add there, Dr. Wiselin, before I pass it back to you?
No, Paul, perfect. I think, if you scroll all the way down, right, it also, like you explained, it has the summary, how on the bottleneck analysis, which you demonstrated, it has everything is finally to improve the KPIs, right? So you're able to identify the biggest bottleneck. It's saying those recommended suggestions, and eventually you're able to say, did it move the needle? Eventually, is it coming? So that's pretty cool, Paul. Thank you so much. That helps.
And yeah, in terms of moving the needle, these dashboards would update in real time. And, like I said, in terms of bottleneck analysis, you could sort this in terms of total duration. So right off the bat, I've got two steps that are measured in days. So these would be potential transitions I'd want to understand in terms of why is it taking 3 days to close out these steps. So with that said, Dr. Wiselin, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. All right. So let me do a very quick walkthrough now now what you saw there was the value stream mapping of a business or an operational value stream, like we say it, right? Now we are going to go into the DevOps or the development value stream, right? Now, as you all know, the development value stream supports the operational value stream. This is where, I'm going to do a hands-on walkthrough here. And it's a quick instance that we spun up right now. So if it's a little bit glitchy, hanging in there with us because we really quicked this up for our webinar. Again, as we said, right, every aspect, if you want to assign, who is the best developer to work on, it automatically does. Every piece of it is automated for us. But right now, sticking to our title, we are just going to go to the IT value stream mapping. Now, I just kept it IT. The right thing to say is that development value stream mapping is what is what is being called out there, but it kept it simple for the audience, right? Now, when you click on it, what happens is it connects to multiple parameters in which the work is carried out in an organization. For example, if I click on this, what you are seeing here on the top is the development value stream steps. And for example, if I have a stage here called implement, it is looking at multiple things. It is looking not only at workflow in Jira or Azure DevOps or in Rally or whatever your tool may be. It also is looking at, hey, what is the frequency of the code checks? It is looking at your Git commits. It's looking at your pipeline. It's looking at multiple variables and then saying that, the average wait time across this particular step was 35.74. Now, if you look at this, and sometimes I had a good question earlier in this call as well, right? Somebody said, hey, is it a sequential step like that? The answer is no, because it's the lifecycle management. See, the product life cycle, you have to put your socks before your shoe, right? But obviously we can shift left, meaning these days sometimes you shift left by using TDD and BDD, where you do the testing first and then development happens. In that case, yes, but everything is a state. So don't look at it linearly like this. What it is saying is, at this state, what are the various things happening? For example, in Analyze, maybe you guys in your company have a form submitted in Confluence. Maybe then it is making its way into the funnel state in Jira. For example, if you have in Jira, maybe it is then landing here. Maybe between here and here, 1,000 other things are happening. So when we go, it is reading all the data, and then eventually it is saying, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, it is saying that the biggest bottleneck at the wait time, which is the wastage, how do we track that? In Jira, when, let's say, for example, a developer is working on something and he's stuck. So there is a flag. You can go and say, I am blocked. So the clock stops. The clock stops on the value add time. And now the time on the wastage is getting calculated. So like this, we are looking at multiple variables to draw this graph. It's not like a simple query which is just taking one snapshot and giving the data. And then it is very clearly saying that, oh my God, looking at this wastage of the time, the integrate step is the most painful step, wastage, and then the implement stage. And as somebody put it in the chat, mentioned that maybe the right developer to work on it. We have automated that. Every piece of it, now we have to see where is the biggest bottleneck and the value at time. Now, when you look at the value at time, yeah, the implement will be long. It doesn't mean that it is the junkiest stuff, because obviously to build something, it'll take more time. So value at time being a taller part, it doesn't mean that implement sucks. It just says that, the implement stage is taking a little bit more in the full life cycle of product building. It doesn't mean it is junky, but our goal will be first to reduce the wastage, obviously, get all these skyscrapers out of the way, then go look at the value at time to see next what we can do to make even this thinner. And when you go down, it says the rework percentage. Let's say a story, for example, is moving from development to testing. There are bugs, and now the story moves back from development to testing. Now there is rework. So this is again a derivation of multiple attributes to say where the biggest bottleneck is. Now that's all cool. So now that now this is done, now what we are going to do is great. Now we are going to come up with the AI recommended improvement items based upon the biggest bottleneck. So when you click on this, what happens is in our tool, what it does is it goes and identifies, it already read the biggest bottleneck, which is integration in our case. And it says that the biggest bottleneck, to eliminate it, this is pretty much the recommendations. These are the biggest epics. And this was not human generated. It read the biggest bottleneck and it is generating that, guys, if you do this, the bottleneck will go away. Now we'll be like, okay, that's great. Now, can we now split it into features and make it smaller chunks? That way we can prioritize it. Absolutely, yes. So when you click on this button, and it may error out a little, let's see what it happens, right? So now what is happening is it's taking those biggest bottleneck related recommendations, and it's going to take a few minutes because it's circulating and looking at the depth of many attributes, and it's doing a bunch of private LLM calls that we have built along with our Python models of machine learning. And it is going to take that biggest epic and split it into various features. And by any reason, if it times out, it will try again, but you'll get a feel of what's going on. Let's give it a few minutes. Yeah. And the idea is, why are we doing it here in this collaborative platform also in our company is, see, now all these recommendations are AI generated, but nothing beats the human brain. So now you can now add additional ideas. See, it already generated three, and it will go ahead and add more as we are building. And it went ahead and put smaller chunks of enablers with deeper recommendations that, hey, guys, use BDD. If your integration is so painful, why are you not shifting left? Why are you not using behavior-driven development? And it is also writing the acceptance criteria and setting goals and challenges so that people can measure and move the needle. And it's going and it's doing that. And it is doing that, which is, I think it's a very big lift so it's not like human jobs are gone with these things. While it is finishing the rest, I want to show something, because it's still building the other recommendations. It's not like human jobs are gone. The point is, everybody should have T-shaped skills. No longer all the tactical stuff are gone. So humans like us have to focus on strategical stuff. T-shaped skills is a must. And anything tactical will be gone. And my point is, the sooner we understand and embrace these pieces, it's a bigger win, I guess. And if not, I think it will be at a peril for us. So my recommendation is, doesn't matter what role we play, or doesn't matter if you are a developer or a tester or a business analyst or a product owner or a product manager or a scrum master or a person in the portfolio manager or in a HR role or a marketing role. Doesn't matter what role it is these days. Even for myself, I have to also see what are the tactical aspects of my job, what are the strategical aspects of my job. Less is more in strategy. Human brains, what God has gifted us is so powerful that we have to spend it on only the strategical stuff and take advantage of the AI to do all the tactical stuff. That's my recommendation. And let's go back to our board, right? So now if you see, it has now come back and given the features. So how about now we go here and takes AI help to say, okay, fine. Can you prioritize this for us? So it is also going to go and help prioritize it for us using the weighted short job first, because we want more value in less time. And it will go ahead and prioritize it, and it will then break this into stories, put it everything for that matter. But at least I wanted to give you a little bit heads up about what the world is going towards. And hopefully we understand not only the aspects of AI and how value stream mapping works and the pieces, and hopefully this is also, if not already, a wake-up call for all of us to develop strategical skill up. Either we have to either upskill or reskill ourselves. Very important. And that's a need of the hour. Otherwise, it's going to be a trouble, I personally think. And my job as an educator, as a trainer, as a professional, I have 5 generations of teaching in my family, is to make sure the workforce, human workforce, the most beautiful workforce, beautiful asset of any organization, is doing the right thing by investing your X amount of time in the right pieces. That's very important. And that is the bigger message that I want to give to you all. That's my bigger message. Apart from not only understanding the fundamentals of value stream mapping, apart from not only understanding how AI can help both optimize business processes and development value streams, more bigger messages to develop T-shaped skills in each and every one of us. I want every one of us to spread this message. That way, these days I get a lot of calls of layoffs and things going on and people because all the tactical stuff. So I will always be available for you all. You can connect with me in LinkedIn. We have multiple things going on for upskilling workforce. But at this point, because we have 7 minutes into the webinar, I want to be respectful of the time that you all have given us on a Friday evening. You all will be in our prayers. But my biggest call out from this is upskill yourself, reskill yourself, and make sure to understand the takeaway that less is more. And that is a bigger call out that I would like to come up with, because as you saw, everything is automated and humans validate. So I'll pause here. I would like to thank Paul for co-presenting with me. But at this point, I will take more questions, and we are excited to stay back for additional questions for another few more minutes if you all want. So thank you for your time on a Friday. Please ask any questions. You can raise your hand and I can take questions along with Paul.
So that should...
Let me give you a better slide on that, okay?
Okay.
So the thing is, what you're all aware, this is the whole of ServiceNow in one slide, okay? Now, what you're talking about is this one simple product, ServiceNow, which is a very popular product. But look at all the things out there. What I'm trying to say is ServiceNow is a low-code, no-code platform, and it can be done to automate anything. You are talking about ITSM because it's one of the popular tools out there, but I'll show you another thing. That is, if you have the license, there is another thing called strategic portfolio management. So I transform in ServiceNow. So there we have built a safe plugin. There is a plugin for safe, but that's a different product. I can show that to you. Let's see if it's there. If I go here, and let's see if it works. So here, just to show you, we have built the safe or the scaled agile framework in ServiceNow. But just to clarify, what you mentioned of ITSM is just the tip of the iceberg of ServiceNow. There's a reason why its stock went from $300 to $800 in just 1 year. So this is ServiceNow in a nutshell. So scaled agile framework is implemented in ServiceNow, but all I'm trying to clarify for you is one piece. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Wiselin. Yeah, I have a question about AI recommendations, because while using ChatGPT, many one of us might have experienced that there were a lot of wrong recommendations or wrong information. that was generated. So how do you check easily what the recommendations are based on to validate whether the recommendations are correct or worthwhile?
That's a very good question. See, when you're typing a question in Chat GPT, it is in the public cloud. Now, when we are implementing in companies, we are implementing a private LLM, which is trained on the local context. Otherwise, obviously, your answers will hallucinate, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So to answer your question, the things that you saw right now is not a Chat GPT generated. It is private LLM trained. And we are using a Stanford open source model. Also, you can also use Meta, Llama, and other things. But again, how do you know whether it is right or not? I'll show you. So we can show the model performance. See, this is what we teach in our AI class. Where, for example, here is an example of which developer is to work on a particular story. AI predicts it, but now our models are able to accurately predict, and you need to know to read this data. So when you go back to your company to lead these things, or you're going to sit and write all these, you just have to be dangerously knowledgeable for this audience, right?
Yep.
You have to, you need to know what it is. To answer your question very specifically, this is not a Chat GPT generated. This is real AI algorithms, and you can data and statistics tells the story, whether it is faking or not. And these numbers, if it is 0.3, it just means that it's not there yet. Then we do feature engineering to improve the quality of the models. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So then what I understand from you is then like in Chat GPT, they actually have kind of like a machine learning thing, and that's in uncontrolled public domain where a lot of information junk comes in, and then the result is inaccurate. But yours is actually where it is controlled and you feed the correct information and the AI generates the recommendations.
You are right. The only correction in your statement is not mine. It's
Mm.
ours. It's ours.
Okay.
All of us should know this. At this
Okay.
point, not knowing this is not an option. So we need to know to be building these models and talk in these languages. Our team will get it built, but not knowing this is not an option.
Okay.
So Wiselin, that LLM you're using is a public LLM, right? Not the
Private LLM. So we take it and we do, sometimes in some companies, we take a pre-trained LLM, put it there. Depends on the use case, company to company, or in some companies, we train it based on the local context. And sometimes it may take a few months to get it accurate. And then we go there. Yeah. So and to answer your question, this is a private LLM, which is trained on a local context. But what you saw here in the webinar, obviously, because it's a public webinar, is demo instance. But having said that, let's say, for example, I build this in Boeing, okay? And the Boeing trust my model and prioritized one story over the other, okay? And let's say they're flying in the airplane and said, Wiselin's model cost me to prioritize this over the other. And you know what I'm saying? So that's why you all need to know what is responsible AI. What is our model should be able to explain, should be able to differentiate the bias. All of those terminologies you should know to be knowledgeable to lead the revolution. I think Rui had a question. Sorry, Rui. I think you had a couple of times hands raised.
No. Thank you so much. First, thank you for sharing all this knowledge with all of us. And it's awesome we can track like how long the story has been in progress, and we can track our more efficient developers. And that's awesome. I was wondering if this is only possible in ServiceNow, or because in my team we're using Jira, and I don't know if that's the same or currently it's just possible in ServiceNow.
Can I tell you something? ServiceNow, Jira, Azure DevOps, Rally, doesn't matter. Pepsi, Coca-Cola. What is the common denominator for everything is data. That's it. People say data is the new oil. I laugh at it. Data was always the oil. ChatGPT came last year and then it revolutionized stuff. But it's like the boy who cried wolf. When I was talking about data all through my PhD and everything, when the model that I developed on myself on 2016, my wife does not. My model knows more about me than my wife. But now everybody now talks about so data is the common denominator. Doesn't matter what tool you use. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Paul, for co-presenting with me. Thank you so much. God bless you.